So, good evening and thank you for coming. My name is Burawa and I'm the Director of the Center of Excellence for the Creative Arts at Peay State University. And this is the one-year anniversary of the Salon series. I began the Salon series because one of my favorite points in history was Paris in the 1920s. And of course, salons were, alive and well earlier, but that was such an exciting time in Paris because Duchamp was there, Pablo Picasso, Samuel Beckett, Gertrude Stein, Hemingway. I mean, the list goes on and on. And it was a real, it was a time of great experimentation and wonderful innovation and discovery, but also conversation. That's when people were talking about the arts. They were excited about what it meant. They were excited about what direction it was going in. So that's what I wanted to do with this series. However, I didn't want to restrict it to just artists. I want the community to be a part of this discussion. So the idea is that we're going to have a little performance, and then afterwards we'll have some cookies or wine or beer, which will be for sale. The cookies are free. Everything is free. Everything on that side of the bar is cash, that side's free. But I do want to say that, it's just a thrill to be here on the one-year anniversary because, two of the people I heard about even before I came to live here in Clarksville were John McDonald and Thayer. They've been doing this for 27 years. And they've been doing exactly what I've been, talking about with the Salon. I mean, they've been engaging in discussion, and they do it through their fantastic programming. They have wonderful entertaining, but also thought-provoking performances that they bring here. And then, they also have a youth education program. There's, I think, few people here who did not have children that went through this and seen what it did for them. When I lived in Arizona, when I was the communications director at the Arizona Commission on the Arts, I traveled the state. And Arizona is much more rural than Tennessee is in many ways. We have 3 major cities, but everywhere else is small town. And the heart of every one of those small cities was the local theater or regional theater. And it's the same with the Roxy. This is the heart of our arts experiences, and we should value it. And that's what I want to do with this Salon series, is to start really going out into the community and showcasing wonderful people like John and Tom, but also their great work. So anyhow, I think it's time to get on with the performance, and I would like to introduce John McDonald to introduce our wonderful guest artist tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Plaids.
endeavor of the Roxy Theatre is an actress who Tom and I met in New York, and I actually adored her. She was my great in love before, Leslie Green. And her name was Mary J. And Mary J did a number of showcases with us in New York, Trelawney Ruel's, A Month in the Country, Toys in the Attic. And from that, she got work. And we were teaching at Rhodes School, and every time there was a fall break or a winter break, we'd rent a car and we'd drive and see Mary J. And Mary J would say, oh, I hate it, I hate touring, blah, blah, blah. The next time we go, she said, oh, touring's all right, blah, blah, blah. The third time she was in Chicago doing Follies, and she said, you know, I really, really like this idea of theater. I really enjoy it. And we then, on these trips, saw what we thought was bad theater. And we thought, gee whiz, we could probably get together and do some bad theater. Everybody else was doing it, so we could too. Mary J then moved into the Actors Complex on 42nd Street, and she'd been touring all over the country. And once she was happy with where she was, God gave her the understudy job of Joanne Woodward in the Glass Menagerie. And so all she had to do was walk from 42nd Street up to Circle and Square at 50th Street. So if you're happy with what you're doing, God will move you on to something else. And I'm under time. That's all I have to say about Mary J. The Plaids. Made it available for us to come in this place, to find this theater. And when we did, we saw pigeons flying around, now we have bats. The carpet was all moldy. It was a virtual mess. Ted Crocher, the mayor, said that it was available for $38,000. $38,000. And I thought, where would we get that from? I didn't know. But our apartment was going to be going co-op. And so we thought it's now time to move on to the next position in life, which is this theater. And my good friend Jack Custer, JC, gave me $1,000 as good faith money, which I gave to Jimmy Maynard. And we sat at the bank, waiting for that check to clear, you know, meaning that he had put it in the bank, but it never cleared. And we didn't want to spend that $1,000. We came very close every time to spend it. We didn't spend it. So we saw this theater, and the money cleared, and we were able to invest in the rest of our life in Clarksville, Tennessee. In the early part of our existence here, we lived in the building upstairs. And for the first 20-something years of our existence, we always pretended like we were doing very, very well. We were always throwing the stuffed pig over the edge of the marquee. Yes, we're doing great, no problem. So for 27 years, we have been on this corner, and today we had 70 young people with Parks and Rec. We have 10 interns in the morning, and we replaced an actor in Forever Plaid this week. Which one of them? You be the guest. Plaids. People were very generous, and I go to Western Union today where to sign the lease, and we get this wad of checks from Western Union, which is just enough money to pay for the down payment on the building. And when we signed the building, they gave us $250 towards the tax. Got money back. So we spent the first few months living upstairs in the office. We didn't have a shower, so we would go through the filth and dirt and try to rip up the carpet and do all the things that you try to do. And we'd go to Tom's mother's house, who was getting a little perturbed after all these months of having to clean the tub after two adult men were making it dirty all the time. God is so incredible. The day we moved to a new apartment, I was bending over and I saw there was a pipe that was coming out of the wall down by the bathrooms. And I turned it on and water came out of it. And I thought, well, this could be a shower, couldn't it? And so every night after we would do all this work in the building, we would then turn on the water, bathe, then we would pour Clorox in the water and then sweep it down the 4 levels of the theater, down to the drain, and then by the time we'd gotten up to where we were staying, we were now sweaty, hot, and irritable. But we were clean. The money, we sold the seats out of the theater to keep alive, and I had in a collection lots of theater memorabilia, and we had a flea market outside. I didn't say this stuff came from the Roxy. I just said this is theater memorabilia. You can jump to your own conclusions. So we lived for the first couple of months here. I biked to Wortham's to get money. I had a LL Bean basket on the back of my bag. And people would come in the day to help as they could. And then when we were exhausted in the evening, people would come to find out how we'd done during the day. And as it was time to go to bed, people would call and ask how it was going. And then if you had to use the loo, you had to come all the way down these steps and use the men's room. And it was so dark and it was so scary because nothing was going on out here. There was nothing on the street. And that's all I have to say about the money. So I was really glad to see the dinner part of it go away and for it to come only once or twice a year, catered from out of town with a good caterer. Because I think if you're going to have people pay money and buy art, they ought to have good food to go with it. What was that again?
That's right.
I like you so much. Plaid.
2, 3, 4. Black, big, Frank. Yes, no, let's go. You say it's yes and then it's no. You say you stay and then you go. You're undecided now. So what are you gonna do? First you say you do and then you don't. And then you say you will and then you won't. You're undecided now. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Now you wanna play and then it's up. And then you say, that's when you go. You're undecided now, so what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I've been sitting on the fence and it doesn't make much sense. Because you keep me in suspense and you know it's all about runs to return and you don't really hurt. I guess something good and make up your mind. If you got a heart and if you're right, then don't keep us apart, make up your mind. You're undecided now, so what are you gonna do? You're having your heart, you're having your heart, you're having your heart, you're having your heart. You say you do and then you don't, no you don't. And then you say you will and then you won't, no you won't. You're undecided now, so what are you gonna do? Well, what's it gonna be? Now you wanna pay, then it's no, then it's no. And then you say you stay, then you go, then you go. You're undecided now, so what are you gonna do? Yes, no, stay, go. You're having your heart, you're having your heart, you're having your heart, you're having your heart. And you're having your heart, 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 you're having your heart. You're stopping the signs, you got a heart, and if you find they don't keep us apart, make up your mind, you're in the signs now, so what are you gonna do? You say yes and then it's no. You say and then you go. You're undecided now, so what are you gonna do? Do what? Yes, no, stay, go, and on, do what, do what?
There's wine and beer back there for a donation, and feel free, you can go and get it while I'm talking. Get up and get the wine and beer while I'm talking. Thank you, Teddy, underscore the wine and beer. Thank you. So, at one point in the heat of the summer, we were doing our first Shakespearean play, and it was Midsummer Night's Dream, and Cinders Were Not Gone was the beautiful Titania. We were called to the bank, first by Jim Mann at the bank, and he told us that we were so many months behind in our mortgage payments, and it might be well for us to sign the building over as a 501c3 and then work for a board of directors. And Tom and I thought that was a great idea because we wanted to keep the theater at all costs. So Mr. Mann helped us work out a 501c3, which means that you don't make a profit. Well, we weren't anyway. So it seemed really apropos. And I think Jim McDonald had just painted around the walls the words dinner, theater, dinner, theater. His paint was barely dry. I said, Jim, can you come over and paint theater, theater on the wall? And he did. So we have a 501c3, and which means that people could support this event, support things like Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec, a child pays a family, it used to be free. It was free, yes, it was absolutely free. And one day, about 5 years ago, they said, we've lost the budget, fourth weekend, we're going to have to cut the program. I looked at Tom, I looked at Leslie, I said, we're going to do this, aren't we? I mean, no matter what. I said, yeah, we'll go through with it. So they did find the money. I think we, after, how many, 22 years, we get $8 an hour. And it's not per child. And I'm such a socialist, they're all treated the same way. And, now everybody funny with that. All right. Now we're 501c3, and we're able to bring in people to support us and make this theater happen. Have you figured out which one that we hired this week? Glad. idea that we did a holiday show at the holiday time, they would come. So I remember that Christmas that we were doing Peter Pan, and all of a sudden I looked out in the audience and it was filled with people. Duh. We flew Peter Pan ourselves that time. The second time we did Peter Pan, we flew Peter Pan. It was Chris McCarthy. We flew her. We jerry-rigged a way to fly her. The third time we were in the money, so we had FX come in. And when FX came in, Peter flew one night and fell to the floor. They came the next day to take charge. From that Christmas show, we began to have audiences come in the daytime. And when they would come in, we'd have to get the children out of school. You could only do that for a certain amount of time. So we were double casting shows. I think at one point we had 5 casts doing The Wizard of Oz or 4 casts doing Sleeping Beauty. And I went to the board and I said, if I could just have $5,000, I think I could pay 5 actors to do the Christmas Carol. And so the board said that. It was all right. And so we were started on this what sinners were at Bond called the Christmas drill. Like a dentist drill. We were doing, 3 shows a day, 3 shows a day, 3 shows a day. The Bob Cratchit and Mrs. Cratchit had to rehearse 10 sets of 4 Cratchit children every night. And then we all had a run-through of that show, and we stopped and did all those scenes. And so many times your mouth was like, listen, you've said it so many times. Then, from that, the next show we did, we had a professional company, then we did our Shakespeare. And we've been the only theater, a lot of people say they do it, they've done it all the time, but they haven't. We've been consistent since like '85, producing Shakespeare every year. Now, the National Shakespeare, they say they do it every year. But I don't think if you do the unabridged Shakespeare, that counts. So, Lou Taylor was a wonderful professor we had in here. He was just, oh God, he was Banquo the My Dane, he was Julius Caesar, he was Polonius and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and Julius Caesar. Lou's unwritten contract was that he would always be able to leave by intermission. So Polonius, he dies in the first act. Julius Caesar, he dies in the first act. What else did he do for us? Oh, he did Banquo, he dies in the first act. So we are the only theater that does Shakespeare. And for years we would, Jerry Rigg and Jerry Tatum did the pumpkin pants and all of these things that distance an audience from the play. And a few years ago, for Want of Money, we did Julius Caesar, and we did it in the production that I had seen in photos of Orson Welles, kind of mafioso. And all of a sudden, just the start of the blackness of it made the production pop. It just, you weren't lost in the costuming, you were lost in the words. And so I had this new idea, which I'm not going to help any costume house ever again to have any Shakespearean costumes, because I think the words are so important. The last thing we did was As You Like It, and in the court scene, everybody wore black and white, and when they went to the woods, they all wore LL Bean and plaids. So plaids. So I think it really worked very nicely. So when we do Hamlet this year, people can come and see Hamlet the way Shakespeare saw it and the way he wrote it, because Hamlet, as Hamlet says, what's it about? It's about words, words, words.
Because you held me tight and stole a kiss.
Brit when we were named, Alice Arnold. And she came down to help. The big white room downstairs was knee-deep in coal. That's literally true. Knee-deep in coal. And it was, we had about 50 or 60 gallons of water in case a bomb dropped. You really want to be in the Roxy basement. And then there were sugar. There was sugar, strawberry lemon drops, and graham crackers. And you know what they're good for. So we took all of those things and donated them to somebody who had a pig farm. And Alice came over that first summer that we were here and helped dig out the coal room and slept upstairs. And she would go to a little place up the street and she would ask for tea, at which time they would take the iced tea that we're so familiar with and they would put it inside of the microwave. That did not go down very well. So Alice said, a little bit like Dorothy Gertrude said in her will, if the Roxy's still open, here's some money for the Roxy. That's in her will. It says the library and the museum, and if the Roxy's still open, here's $80,000 for them. So it's really nice. So Alice said, well, John, if you're open next summer, I'll come back and do cabaret. Well, she did, and it was terrific. So a few years later, oh gosh, 15 years later, we decided to do it again. We did it with Stacy Turner. And we had this wonderful photograph that we'd taken out front with all the girls in their, the Dunbar Center, when they did it, they said everyone must wear 3 pairs of underwear. Their own, something to cover their own, and period underwear over the underwear. So you wear 3 pairs of underwear. So we said, okay, girls, wear 3 pairs of underwear. And they did. And they wore something that was like people found really offensive, garter belts. There's something very evil about garter belts. So once afternoon we went outside and we got the MC and we got all the girls in their garter belts and there was Stacy Turner Olsen sitting on a chair. And then after the photograph was taken, Greg said, oh, you stand in the picture too, and we'll use it in the that yearly thing they do. What is it?
Progress.
Oh, thank you. We were making some. Progress. So we stepped in the picture and we had these really smug looks on our faces. And then they didn't use that photograph, but they used the one of Stacy, and it started a barrage of letters to the editor. Hate this, all, on, back and forth. And you know, over a period of time, there were like 25 letters to the editor. We couldn't beat them away from the door. Everybody wanted to come see girls in garter belts. I think I'm going to get a girl and put her in a garter belt and put her outside, and then people will all start coming back. Soon after that barrage of letters, we did Footloose. What? A plaid garter belt. A plaid garter belt. I lost my train of thought. But we did Footloose, and we had the signs of Footloose that say, protest, close this place, they've been protested. So I said, protesters, will you go outside and pray? People were so sweet, they said, y'all need to leave that theater alone.
It's so
I do papers like that. So, I think back in the 1880s, 1850s, there on this corner there was a blacksmith. And when the Jeffersonian newspaper came in and wanted to build a building, the town fathers, everybody was very upset that they were going to tear down that blacksmith place and put in a socialist or democratic newspaper. I'm sure the exact same thing happened when Joe Goldberg came and said he wanted to put a movie theater there. The town fathers got very upset because they really liked that blacksmith shop and they really liked that newspaper, but they didn't like the movie theater idea at all. So, then that horrible fire for Joe Goldberg, who came over here and within 10 years learned to speak English and he said supposedly that the people of Clarksville were so very honest because he was selling pots and pans on his back and they'd proffer the money and they would make change out of his pocket. Within a year, his first theater, called the Lillian, named after his daughter, burnt to the ground. And they say the fire leaped across the street from the Opera House. Not true. According to Ralph Goldberg, Joe's son, he said the projectionist saw the fire, left the nitrate stop running through the projector, and you've all seen a film where all of a sudden it kind of bleeds out. Does that still happen in the cinema now? It freezes and then it bleeds and catches fire. Well, nitrate stock is very flammable, so the fellow that left the theater projector going then went across the street only to cause the fire in his own building. But Joe had such belief that he built the building again, exactly the same as it had been before. For us, I want people to be in love with what goes on in here. I want them to be in love with what they see 70 children do, and 10 interns, and 34 cast of Beauty and the Beast, because that's the heart of this area. It's not a building. So what we're trying to do now is to build an art center. We're trying to get 1,000 people to pledge $1,000. And with that million, we can then have this lot next door saved for us so that more people can give us funds. And so that we can have a proper cafe, a proper rehearsal space, a proper performance area, a proper shop, a proper place for classes, a proper place for Jack, a place for Peggy Bonington to go to work where she won't bother Stewart, a place where Susan Bryant can go and Billy can be separate for a while and they can do their thing in all these little rooms and all these little studios. So
Okay, I'll give you 1,000.
Peggy, you've already promised 1,000. You can't do it again.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you're right. When I look at those little children that come and see Beauty and the Beast, and I don't think of the parents. I do think of the parents because they've been terrific about dragging their children down here. But those little children, I want them to have a place to go. And it's not going to be a 1947 film house that's really virtually a money pit and falling apart around us. It's the same age as I am. I rest my case.
Skin
the director of this production, the piano player, and the very buff gentleman. Who somebody said at Alice Arnold's house in Great Britain, they said, and it's Zachar's son. So this is not my son, but Tom Thayer, please.
Bowie. Gregory Pember. I have to tell you that he joined us Tuesday.